Well, if you missed a member meeting last night, I want to let you know that you missed a wonderful family time together as a church. We had a feast. It was a bit of a foretaste of heaven, a whole bunch of mission barbecue, a lot of laughter, a lot of stories, a lot of updates. So if you missed it, we missed you, but we want to make sure you got the core information that we covered last night. So we want to send this video out, as we do on the back end of every member meeting, with the document we went through together as a family and some of the critical updates and things that the Lord is doing in the life of our church. So let's go through. You can click on the attachment here and follow through the main document we went through last night. The first was just welcome and vision. We read through that paragraph, and I shared a bunch of kind of tangible stories of different life change. One major highlight is, on Sunday morning, we're seeing a lot of new folks come, and a lot of folks that have never heard the gospel before, and we're seeing them wrestle with the truth of the gospel and receive Christ as well. The main question I want to highlight for us here as a church is, will we, each of us, welcome in, move towards, sit with people who are new, talk with people who are new, invite people who are new out to coffee or lunch and into your community group or 3D. So please be intentional on this aspect. It's wonderful that somebody attends on a Sunday, but we want everyone in a community group and in a 3D. So please move towards people, build relationship, get a coffee, get a lunch, invite them into your community group in 3D, so that people are, who are lost and lonely can be connected to the life of the church together and grow in the gospel. Also, a highlight from that first vision paragraph is, we entered the neighborhood, this area, intentionally, quietly, just respectfully, gently, to live as just the presence of Christ here, this first year especially, in a sense to shatter some paradigms of what the neighborhood might think an evangelical church is like. That we just wanted to be kind, quiet, respectful, loving, a generous presence right away in the neighborhood. And like our community groups, in a scattered way, our community groups and the life of the church, we want to move towards intentionally those folks who don't yet know Jesus, wherever we are in our community group life, all over this kind of northern DC area. So in the same way, in the coming years, we'll be moving more intentionally, in a sense, a little more loudly, but lovingly towards the neighborhood and the surrounding area right here where we gather centrally on Sunday morning. So look for ways to do that. One of the most close ways to do that, proximity-wise to today, is the Easter weekend coming up here in a couple days. We would love for you to invite neighbors. We know folks from the neighborhood will come out to that. So we want to love and care for the community right around the church building well. But we are the church. We are the church scattered in our individual lives and together in our families on mission in our community groups. So let's make sure we are intentionally moving towards those who do not know Jesus all over the area in our geographic locations in our community groups as well. All right, then stories of grace. You'll see on the next page there updates from the body. Every staff member pretty much shared updates. The Lord is doing wonderful things. A big highlight here is that the transition to 2 services just, at first was rocky, but I just wanted to say, wow, way to go, church, for jumping in, serving. Particularly within kids ministry, we have hired Bonnie, her presence and kind of detail-oriented effort to do scheduling, as Thule highlighted, is just really having a huge impact on volunteers serving effectively within kids. We've seen our other teams grow within band and AV, and also the welcome team and hospitality, things like that. So, man, way to go. 2 services is healthy and flourishing. We're seeing lost and lonely people connect, and we're also seeing our church ourselves just really have an opportunity to worship God, and the body is growing. So praise God. Thank you, church, for the way we've walked through that transition together. Other updates, the next update, number 2 there, is some elder updates. We are rolling off Elijah and Mario. They have been serving faithfully along with their wives on the elder team, and so we celebrated them last night, and just in the couple months here they'll be rolling off. And with that, we brought in Ronald and Kelvin. They were installed a couple weeks ago in the worship service. But we want to do some more elder nominations as we continue to grow as a body, and also as these two men roll off, Elijah and Mario. We want to grow the team a bit more. So you'll see a form for elder nominations. If you have someone to nominate for eldership, we'd love your thoughts on that. There's more information there on that form. So we'll be taking nominations for the next few weeks here. And then these men and their wives will go through that same process of assessment, development, and then if they continue through that process, into installation after completing their development plan. Now on to Vision Funded. Neil gave a great overview of our finances. First, we looked at 2025 end of year, where we ended up a few months back, and then we looked at the budget for 2026 and how that gives us a ramp to live into the budget here in the church building. So in 2025, a couple highlights were, you can go over to the budget charts there in 2025 end of year. One big highlight was our internal giving was just really generous. $822,000 was given last year by the body, by you, and by members and by attenders, and just so grateful for that. Gosh, that was more than we expected. We had budgeted $769,000, but we overgave that. So way to go, church. Then secondly, a huge surprise was last year, a handful of folks from outside of the church just threw in extra money. So $208,000 was given from folks outside of the church who are just really invested in the work of God here and seeing the gospel go out through the well. So man, just praise God for that. Well, it's so cool if you go down a couple lines, the ideas for funds needed for budget. What was so cool is we have allocated He is Able pledges, the amount of money that has been given through our He is Able initiative a year ago, and then the pledges that are being given even this year in a final way. We had allocated $276,000 of that to be used to fund the budget now that we live as a church in this building, but we did not have to use that last year. So praise God, because of your generous giving and some generous external giving, we didn't have to use that money. So praise God. And all the work of the gospel that is being funded here is to the end goal of seeing lives change for eternity and the gospel take root. So man, way to go giving generously. The Lord is moving. So that was 2025, and more was shared, but that's the basic overview from that. And then 2026, you'll see kind of the principles we're using for budgeting. We want to be frugal, faithful, and we want to, in this 3-year ramp of living into life in the building, we just want to do a job of just being faithful and frugal. So we did not increase the budget substantially. It's still right around $1.2 million. And we are allocating $303,000 of our cash reserves. That's the He is Able money that has been given and will be given, and our cash reserve from living frugally already as a church. We've allocated $303,000 of that. You'll see in the 2006 annual budget there, funds needed for budget, towards funding our budget, breaking even in a sense of how we live this annual calendar fiscal year here in the church. Because of our He is Able funds and how we've budgeted, you'll see on the chart here that we've got a 3-year ramp. And this is kind of this faith ramp of living into the budget here in the building. So if you take our internal giving and our, quote, income from rental, the preschool, the rental income, that will give us a 3-year ramp living into our finances, our annual budget, where we'll be able to use the cash reserves, the He is Able funds, as we had planned, to meet that gap. You can see that gap on this chart. And so in 3 years, we expect that the Lord has grown our body. He has grown our own generosity in giving, and added to the number that we would see that gap closed. And in 3 years, years, we would be able to self-fund as a body and with rental income the life living here for the gospel in this building. And like I said, even last year, we didn't have to spend any of that gap money because of the generosity of the church and the generosity of outsiders. So let's just keep giving generously as a church and keep asking that He might bring people into the body that they might also engage and give. And just let's praise God for how He's already moved as we look forward to seeing how He might do beyond what we could ask or imagine in this ramp. So way to go. Fill out, keep giving those He is able pledges for this final year here through 2026, and let's be a body who keeps giving generously. That was kind of the full overview for the budget. Looking forward, as we follow Jesus together for the good of the world, I want to highlight two things. One, our 3-year annual goals for the next 3 years. We're really focusing this coming year on our discipleship pathway. Making sure we are very clear on the core aspects of discipleship and how to equip the body as disciples of Jesus. Really in these core areas of following Him, being able to be self-feeders, grow in the Scriptures, grow in the Word and in prayer as we follow Jesus. And then also as we fish for men and women, as we, Jesus says, "Come, follow me, I will make you fishers of men." So as He's transforming us as His disciples, we want to be a people who are equipped to fish for men, to share the good news of the gospel with our neighbors, coworkers, friends, and family members. And then finally to form a few, to be people who are able to disciple a few ourselves, basically to live out the 3D rhythm of life, Bible, and prayer, to get in the Scriptures with a few ourselves and multiply these groups that we can each become disciplers as well as disciples. So that's the focus of this coming year. Then also you will have noticed one of our other annual goal focuses was to grow in organizational maturity and communication and systems and administration. And so we've hired Faith. She's really helping in that process and communication and administration. And so we're growing in that area of these coming years as well. Also have hired Kristen, who is working along with Amita and Angela, doing a great job in finances and just really crushing it there. And then lastly, our third goal over 3 years here is engaging the culture. So in the coming years, you're going to see just really intentional seminars and ways to engage on cultural topics, whether it be politics or sexuality or race and justice, whatever it might be, just to engage the culture effectively there for our own discipleship and sharing the good news of the gospel with those around us. And lastly, as we look forward, let's keep in mind our focus as we follow Jesus together for the good of the world, as we worship Him, is this idea of multiplication. When we think of growth here at the Well, we're not thinking addition, which is to grow our own body, right, one at a time as people come and we invite people and share the good news of the gospel. That's wonderful. But we want to be a people who, as we follow Jesus, we multiply disciples, right, that can multiply disciples. We want to be a people that are multiplying community groups, that can multiply community groups. And we want to be a people who are multiplying churches. So our growth plan is to plant churches. So you'll see our residencies will become more of a front and forward aspect of our church. We will again welcome in church planting residents, like Ronald was our last one, but then he stayed on staff and other staff members in the past and churches we have planted in the past. This will be a key focus of the coming years, that we will not only see our community groups multiply, but we want to see the church multiply. So we will be sending out new church plants in the coming years in a healthy, sustainable way with teams, but in doing so intentionally and generously to release the body and send the body to plant new churches. So excited to be in the journey with you. So grateful for the way He has rooted us here in this building for a generational work. It's been a year and 2 months. And so we're just praising God for all that's occurred and look forward to a generational work of the gospel together with you, church, the Well Community Church. It is a great joy to follow Jesus together with you for the good of the world. Love you all.